Imagine a professional sports league just stopping all of a sudden. No matches, no sponsors, players leaving the country. It sounds like a dystopian movie, right? But that's what's happening to Indian football in the season 2025-26. History will probably remember this as the lost year. But how did a league that started with legends like Del Piero, Roberto Pierce, end up having zero bidders for its commercial rights? And how did a club from Varanasi, who doesn't even have a stadium, end up saving the drama? Today, we decode the structural metamorphosis of Indian football and the massive governance crisis of 2025. Let's get started. So on the 9th of December 2010, the All India Football Federation, the AIFF, signed a massive 15-year deal with Reliance and IMG. This was called the Master Rights Agreement, or MRA. Think of this as an agreement as something that effectively privatized Indian football. It gave the organizers total control to create a new tournament, which later became the ISL in 2014. The ISL had money, the glitz, the glamour. And unlike the I-League, where clubs could be relegated and promoted, the ISL was modeled like the Indian Premier League of cricket or the American sports leagues, where the clubs never faced relegation. You understand what is relegation and promotion, right? So to put it very simply, imagine a country's football system as a pyramid, okay? The top tier, second tier, third tier, and these tiers are connected. So teams can move up and down between them. And at the end of every season, the top 2-3 teams that finish at the top of a lower league move up to the next higher league for the next season. And similarly, the teams that finish at the very bottom of the league are dropped down to the lower league for the next season. So from 2014 to 2019, Indian football was operating under this very bizarre and unsustainable dual league format. Because while this ISL was this brand new cash-rich tournament, it had no official standing in the Asian hierarchy. Because the I-League still remained the top-tier competition of the country that gained or granted access to the AFC Champions League. But it was getting only a fraction of the viewership and revenue of the ISL. So this entire situation, that dichotomy of the situation, created a massive friction. I mean, legacy clubs like the East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, they were playing in empty stadiums, while clubs like Kerala Blasters of ISL was drawing crowds of up to 60,000. The AIFF faced accusations of neglecting the I-League in favor of its commercial partner's property, the ISL. The lack of promotion and relegation between the two entities meant that the Indian ecosystem was effectively segregated by wealth rather than sporting merit. And to be honest, of all the blunders that was committed by the AIFF, the initial idea of simultaneously running two leagues was the biggest of them all. The fans were also left confused and in chaos. So finally, a roadmap was created to merge these two worlds. The plan was simple: turn the ISL into a proper open league with promotion and relegation by 2024-25. But there's the catch. Remember the initial MRA, the 15 years contract? That was supposed to end on the 8th of December 2025. And here's where the paralysis set in. In June 2025, FSDL, the league organizers, told the federation that we just can't run this season that starts in September if our rights expire halfway through in December. And to make matters worse, the Supreme Court of India stepped in. They told the AIFF that they couldn't renew the old deal until a new constitution was finalized. The federation's hands were tied. So the AIFF started looking for a new partner. On October 2025, they put out a tender looking for someone who could run the league for the next 15 years. They were asking for a minimum guaranteed price of rupees 37 crores roughly for every year. The result? There were zero bids. It was a catastrophe. So it proved that without Reliance's backing, the markets didn't believe that the ISL was worth the money that the AIFF was asking for. So the league was left with no organizers, no sponsors, no broadcasters. Things got so bad that national stars like Sunil Chhetri and Sandesh Jinan had to start a Save Indian Football campaign. They were begging FIFA to intervene. But while the big bosses were fighting over contracts, a crazy drama was unfolding over in the I-League regarding who would get promoted to the ISL. The dispute centered on Inter Kashi FC and a player named Mario Barco. While rivals claimed Barco was ineligible to play, the AIFF agreed, stripped Inter Kashi of their points and declared Churchill Brothers the provisional champions. But Inter Kashi didn't accept that. They went all the way to the Court of Arbitration of Sports (CAS) in Switzerland. And on July 18, 2025, the verdict came. CAS ruled in favor of Inter Kashi, overturned AIFF's decision. So it meant that Inter Kashi was promoted to play in the ISL in the next season. But there was a practical problem. Inter Kashi is from Varanasi. But Varanasi didn't have a stadium that meets the standards of the ISL. So for this survival season, the team from Uttar Pradesh will now play their home games in Guwahati, Assam. Now talk about that for a long commute. Back in the ISL, the clubs were getting desperate. 10 of the clubs got together and tried to stage a coup. They proposed a club-owned model like the English Premier League, where they would own 60% of the league and pay the AIFF a fee. But the AIFF immediately rejected it, calling it unacceptable. Finally, the Indian government had to intervene. The sports minister had to come and mediate a deal between the clubs and the AIFF just to make sure that the season wasn't cancelled entirely. The new season starts on the February 14, 2026, Valentine's Day. But this is going to be a very different season. The teams will play each other only once. No home and away matches for everyone. It's a randomized mix. There'll be no playoffs because there isn't just enough time. And the team at the top of the table after 13 matches becomes a champion. Relegation is on. Even with this short format, the bottom team will be relegated to the I-League. The league is restarting, but this is just a triumph of survival, not growth. AIFF is funding 40% of the costs from its own pocket. The government is helping with broadcast production because there are no private broadcasters. The Vision 2047 that aimed India to be among the top 4 Asian teams seems like a distant dream right now. The national team's world ranking has fallen to 142nd. This season is just about keeping the lights on. But like they say, where there's a will, there's a way. Thank you for watching.